Welcome to another Indie Dev Showcase here on the channel, where each week I examine and spotlight the many dev submitted and game demos we play here on the channel. If you submit a game for a future piece and stream, please get in touch. But we are going to be starting off with the game Solus Sector Tactics. Now, the footage that you're seeing is taken from the free demo that's available on itch, but the game will also be available on Steam, and I'll include links to everything in the description down below. So the simplest way of describing Solus Sector here is that this is essentially like an Advanced Wars style game, but in space. Each map you're going to be playing against AI, capturing the various buildings or planets that become your unit constructors. You can build one unit per turn from a planet, and you are limited, of course, in terms of the more you have, the more you can actually push out in a single turn. There is a rock, paper, scissors formula for the three kinds of ships that are in the game. From what I played of this one from the itch page, it seems like a fairly solid take on the Advanced Wars formula. Kind of no more, no less, at least in the version that we played. Each one of the different ships has a different rule for, how far it moves, what's its damage, and so on. And in the version that we played, it was simply just playing against AI on a single map, but there are plans for a full-on campaign, as well as things such as a little bit more persistence and unlocks and things along those lines. But again, with this being the itch demo, we didn't quite get a chance to see that. I would say if you are a fan of the Advanced Wars style of strategy, then give this one a check. Again, you'll find a link to the store page. I'll include a link to the itch demo as well in the description. And if you do like strategy games, this one may be worth keeping an eye out for. We now turn to Angry Giant, and this is a game that is described as being a 2D action-adventure Metroidvania, and trying to, I guess, hit every 2D genre qualifier out there. But as the title and as the footage you're seeing it demonstrates, we are playing, an angry giant, whose job it is to, go around, cause trouble, and do giant things. My issue, right off the bat with this game, unfortunately, is definitely the presentation. The game kind of has a very, low quality mobile look to it. Lots of giant buttons, the 3 stars, and I'm not quite sure, what it's trying to be. And unfortunately, that is sometimes the killer when it comes to indie games, especially those from new or first-time developers. As you can see from kind of the main screen and such, they're really trying to do a lot in terms of upgrades, different tones, and it feels like it was designed for maybe mobile first and then ported to the PC, or quite possibly vice versa. But other than the aesthetics issue, I found the general gameplay to be very awkward. For instance, A is the button used to stomp people instead of jumping, as you can see right there. And the controls kind of felt a little bit on the janky side, with a lot of things that you can do and play around with, but it just didn't really feel like a fulfilling experience for me. I would say if you're looking for something very, very different, give Angry Giant at least a check, but if you are looking for something that's definitely more on the polish or iterative side, I don't think you're going to find much in Angry Giant that you'll enjoy. Now up, we have Skjoldur Story, and I'm fairly sure I just butchered that title. This is an action-adventure game, where our principal twist is that our only weapon that we have is our shield. And the shield itself will absorb the power of anything that you hit or block with it. So that if an enemy shoots a projectile at you and you block it, you'll be able to then take that projectile and then fling it right back at them. And of course, the general progress is going to be exploring the space, looking for treasures, MacGuffins, and more, which will then let you make more progress and continue onward across this island. The game itself, I would say, it is on the charming side of things. You'll get to ride a goat, as you can see right there. And with all progress kind of built around using your shield as opposed to getting more weapons, is an interesting touch. Now, my big issue that I had with the game was that I felt like the pacing was just like a little bit slower than what it should be. Combat is somewhat forced in a lot of these areas, as in order to unlock different chests or complete various challenges, you may have to kill the enemies around. But the issue is that because you're always waiting for your shield, or your shield must always absorb things first, it kind of makes it very hard to kind of wait around, get the absorb, go hit the guy, and you only have a limited number of juice of each shot before things go horribly wrong. I would say in terms of difficulty, I don't think this would be on the harder side, but it does feel more for moderate or moderate style gamers. Other than those concerns, I don't know if there really is anything else I can really say about this game. It is one of those titles that you'll get the core gameplay loop fairly quickly in, and I found it to be on the charming side. If you are somebody who, again, likes action-adventure style games, we covered Prodigal several times on the channel here, and you're looking for another one to add to your collection, I would say give this one a check just to see what you enjoy out there, if you can enjoy it. But if you're looking for something 100% original, I don't think Skjoldur Story is going to work for you, and if anyone can give me the correct pronunciation in the comments, I would really appreciate it. But with that said, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have 3 more games to look at for this week's showcase. And as always, if you're interested in my thoughts on design, then check out my following books. For entry-level students, we have 20 Essential Games to Study, and then the Game Design Deep Dive series that takes an extensive look at different genres, with free-to-play coming in 2022. We now turn to the game 2 Leaves and a Bud, the Tea Garden Simulator. And this is being played through an early access build, and what you see may not represent the current version of it. And this one joins the likes of games like Tarot, as well as some of the other like drink-making games that involve me running and managing these plays that I've never really cared for the drinks themselves. But as the name of this game promptly illustrates, this is a game about running a tea garden. And it's your job to figure out what tea plants to grow, how to cultivate them over each season, set up the kinds of drinks you want to make, and of course not go bankrupt in the process. So just like some of the other ones we've played in this kind of simulation genre or sim genre, it is one of those titles that you will know fairly quickly if it is for you or not. Developers are trying to go as much or as involved in the process as one can be, which did make it a little bit hard to learn. I always have the issues with these kinds of games that it doesn't do, I think, a good job of explaining what decisions I need to make to get the best crops and the best yield. I would personally not drink any wine, tea, beer, or any other specialty beverage that I would concoct if I were you. But it is, again, one of those games that it falls into a very specific niche in terms of its design. And if you do enjoy these kinds of sim-style games, then at least give the demo a try that's available on Steam and see if you do enjoy the peaceful act of tea growing. For our next game, we have Novamundi. And this is another early access game in which you see may not represent the current version of it. And for this one, the unique selling factor is that it's based on indigenous people of the Andes. And it's your job to kind of lead your tribe around and save the people from the Spanish invaders. So right off the bat, the game definitely has a very unique setting that we normally don't see games explore going for it. The general structure is described as kind of an open world RPG roguelike, and I would say that kind of fits. The general movement and exploration in a weird way reminds me of Sid Meier's Pirates, in terms of kind of like wandering around for some like the land-based exploration. So the game itself, you build your party out of the various people you meet. Everyone has different stats, traits, and whatnot, and it's up to you to explore and warn people about an oncoming or upcoming invasion. The big issue that I had with Novamundi is definitely the onboarding and the UX. Like with a lot of open world style RPGs, this is very much an example of one of those games where they let you basically do whatever you want, and whatever you want will usually end up getting you killed because maybe you bought the wrong items or you didn't buy enough food. And the game definitely could use, I think, better tutorialization. And again, improving the onboarding to make it a little bit easier to learn what you should be doing. And of course, keeping everyone from dying, as we all know. Now, the game does feature procedural generation, with the various cities or villages and points of interest being randomly placed on the map in each play. And you'll have to kind of explore and use your guides in order to figure out what direction you should be going, and hopefully finding resources and not getting into trouble. Again, because of the onboarding being so rough, it did temper a lot of my enthusiasm for the game. And I'm hoping that with it or through its early access, it will get some better tutorials and just make the beginning a little bit easier to process. Because, like we say here a lot on the channel, it's really great to see games that do something different, whether it's from a design, aesthetic, story, or a combination of the three. So, if the concept of Novamundi sounds interesting to you, I would say definitely give this one a shot just to see what you can make of it. But if you're hoping for something a bit more refined, I would say maybe wait a little bit longer early access or when it's at 1.0 and see where the game is at then. For our final game of this video, this is Galactic Mining Corp. And this is a great example of a title that, with a very well executed or engaging core gameplay loop, kind of elevates otherwise very basic gameplay systems and mechanics. But our story is that we run a, galactic mining company, and it's up to us to explore the galaxy, find new employees, upgrade our facilities, and do all that mining that I just said a few seconds ago. So the game itself is very much on the arcade side of things. You'll explore different planets, mining them or mining the various blocks. You can see here, the blocks will give you resources, which will be translated into experience that will let you upgrade your corp, as well as can be traded and sold at various places for goods. Your gold currency is kind of your universal currency used to acquire new things, and the entire kind of progression loop of Galactic Mining Corporation is all fed through this mining gameplay that you see right here. Your health goes down whenever you mine a block, and as you find more dangerous planets, there'll be more resources for you to uncover, as well as more things trying to kill you. Your job is to reach the core of the planet, which is at, the very bottom of the area. Mine the core out, and you'll get a special resource that is used to unlock permanent upgrades. And as you get more of these resources, you'll be able to do more throughout the galaxy. If you die, all your resources will be preserved, and you'll return back to your main starting HQ. And everything about this game, again, is fed through this funnel of the mining. As you get better crew members, you'll be able to do more in the mining sections or survive more. You'll get more resources, which will let you upgrade or find more crew members out there. And all again, it just keeps repeating the same gameplay loop. The problem that Galactic Mining Corp has is that loop is basically it. If you're hoping to use the resources in any meaningful way or any other gameplay systems or modes that these resources or the mining will kind of focus or build on, you're not going to find that in this game. As you get further in, it starts to become more of a grind, as you'll need ever-increasing amounts of gold in order to unlock more areas and get more of the challenges. There's a second galaxy map that basically almost, I think, like quadruples all the cost of exploration. Now, you'll get upgrades that will earn you money, like idle-wise or over time. But again, it's one of those games that I really like the concept, but I feel like it's only like halfway there. Like, if the mining could have been used for something else, if there was just another system of interaction, not progression, but actually something you're doing within the space, I think this would be an easy recommendation for everyone. But for what Galactic Mining Corp is, I would say if you like what you're seeing in terms of the gameplay, give it a check. Because again, like with a lot of the games that I played over this video, it is one of those titles that you will know within minutes whether or not the gameplay gels with you or not. And if it does, you're going to find a whole lot of things you can do within this space. But again, if you're hoping that this all goes to somewhere new or somewhere different, Galactic Mine Corp is just kind of like drilling in one spot. So with that said, we're going to wrap up this week's showcase here. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to do all the liking and subscribing, and check out our Discord and Patreon link down below. Again, if you are working on a game and would like me to take a look at for a future video and stream, please get in touch. Come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where we simply are in science of games. And until next time, take care.